It's time for the movie raid, and tonight's victim is actress Courtney Akbar that is played in Astro and Morbid Stories. Hello.
Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's a pleasure to be here.
What's going on with Morbid Stories? Now, this is kind of like between like Creep Show and Tales from the Crypt type of style, anthology type style, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So Morbid Stories is actually going to be, it is, an anthology feature film. There's going to be, I want to say, about 5 different shorts included in it, including mine. Super excited for it to come out because it's going to be a bit different than most of the anthologies that you kind of see today, and I think it's really going to scare a bunch of people.
Very cool. How long has this been going on? A couple months, or are you guys just almost wrapping up as soon as you get enough storyline with or anything else related to that?
It's been going on for a few months. They've been working on filming and just getting everything together. I do want to say they want to have it ready and available on like VODs and other streaming networks by Halloween time, so it should be pretty soon. Couple months.
How do you think the reaction is going to be with this? Aside from you, aside from being excited for this project and being in this project, do you think others are going to get that kind of same reaction as they would for the first Creep Show and all these other ones that have done this already? I've already got that reaction.
Yes, I definitely think so. I like the way that all of the stories connect, kind of different than the way they do a lot of other anthologies. I know certain ones, the stories kind of connect, other ones, they're all like completely unrelated. So I really like just how they all flow together, and it just kind of makes sense, and it keeps you very interested.
Nice. Now tell us a little bit about Astro. Now this is like a sci-fi type film. How did you get involved with that project?
Astro was a lot of fun. Astro we shot actually a few years ago, I think like 2 years ago now in New Mexico. I got involved with that film because the director, Akbar, he was writing the script, and once he finished, he came up to me and was like, hey, you know, I wrote this and I really think you'd fit this character. So I read through the script and I really liked the character. I'm a super huge fan of sci-fi also. I like kind of having a big imagination and believing in things that most people would be like, yeah, right. So it was definitely a lot of fun to be a part of that project.
Now, is that one also available for streaming purely, or is this also on DVD and so forth that everyone else can check out right now as well?
Yes, I know it's available for DVD on like Amazon, Walmart, I think Barnes & Noble, and a few other websites. And then also if you're down for streaming, I know it's up on a few different platforms, including Tubi, which is a really fun one.
Now, can you describe what your part is in this film? Because I might go to Walmart after work.
The movie Astro is about a billionaire who has a private space exploration program. It's a cool twist on the whole alien theme inside of a movie. Instead of aliens coming here and invading, he kind of goes out to another planet and abducts an alien from their own environment and brings them back here. After he brings them back here, he does some testing and he finds out that alien's blood is related to the character Jack, who plays my father in the movie. I guess I'm like a half-sister with the alien. My character is really cool. I actually got to do a lot of action in that film. Our house gets blown up. There's a lot of running. I had a couple fighting scenes, so that was really fun. Yeah, if you haven't checked it out, if you like a good movie where you can use your imagination and it kind of pushes the boundaries of reality and what's really possible, I think you'd like it.
Now, when it comes to performing in a different genre, do you think the actor must adjust the style of genre to the audience themselves, or do you think there should be a different direct approach in order to achieve the same success of the task?
I feel that every character that I have played in different genres, or that anybody would play throughout different genres, definitely be taken from a different approach. You don't want to be the same character in one movie that you are in another movie and have like the same idioms, the same motions. It's definitely good to keep it diverse. If you're acting in a horror movie and you're supposed to be like a bad guy or you're a villain, and then you go to work on a drama and you still have that mindset, it's not going to work well with the character.
Yeah, and it's not really good for your career at the same time, because if you are doing this type of thing, even if you're not aware that you're doing it, you probably should pay more attention of how it's being used, because you're not only that, you're going to almost taint your career, just be pinpointed as stereotype, or you're just simply going to ruin your own style of method acting or whatever acting that you use.
Right, definitely. You kind of get boxed into a certain type of character, so people will be like, oh, I'm looking for this, and it's like that's the only thing they would ever look at you for, is for that one specific role, where I think it's so crucial for actors to be diverse in any genre, every genre, and experiment with all different types of roles just to master the craft and just get all the different experience and really bring all these different characters to life.
When performing in certain genres, do you think being transparent in character can actually help audience follow you as well?
Yes, I feel if you're truly in tune with your character, you're going to be able to portray, even just through actions and glances, certain characteristics of who you are that people will pick up as they're watching. Whereas if you're not really in tune with your character and maybe your body language is completely opposite from what you're saying, people are going to either consciously or subconsciously notice that. I know that every actor kind of has an age range that they fit into, so if you have like a very young face and you look really young, you're not going to want to go and play a mom in a movie because that's kind of don't really look the part. Same as if, you know, you're an older person and you're trying to play like a teenager in high school, you've got to look a certain way.
It can help out sometimes, but at the same time, if you're just being hired to play this role, that's really the company's fault, because even though you may act the part, age in every kind of aspect, it's got to be dead on details. You can't simply just do that in the movie and expect to get away with it.
Right, because it has to be believable. If you want somebody to really be into your movie and feel like they're a part of this world and they're in this life, they have to believe everything.
Do you think that actors should be a little bit selective in terms of what projects to actually go for when it's actually the right time to perform in these type of films?
I do. I absolutely do. Picking your roles is so crucial because of course, you've heard of horror stories. I'm not going to use any specific names, but big name actors, they take on a role and all of a sudden the movie flops, and then their career goes into the dark for a couple months to a couple years, and then they have to reinvent themselves because of that one role that totally tanked their career. So yes, I think you definitely have to be very selective with roles that you choose, just so that you don't ever have anything like that happen to you.
Motivation just goes out the window.
Yeah, and it affects your confidence, it affects how you view things, and totally, it's totally important to make sure you pick your roles and you don't just take anything that's thrown at you.
And especially now, it's like every year that passes, it just becomes harder and harder. I mean, unless you're, I guess if you go out of country, maybe it might be a little easier to get some roles. But in the U.S., especially if you're going mainly in California or, you know, like Hollywood and so forth, it's going to get harder and harder unless you're like an extra or some other thing, and having to find other ways to boost your own image as an actor.
Right. They definitely don't make it easy. That's true.
And how far, in terms of your career, I mean, how's it actually been treating you as an actor in this, having to go this far without having to worry about, you know, bigger companies or anything? I mean, you think independent is the only way at the moment?
I feel like it's been working in my benefit, especially up to this point, because I've really been able to experiment on screen and hone into my craft and just make it better and better with every project that I pick up. Of course, the intention is one day I would like to be with a studio project, either on a big movie or on a big TV show or a series, but I definitely appreciate all this time that I've had with all the other independent films and few TV shows that I have been on to really like work on my craft and just really focus on making myself the best I can be.
And it's also on almost a balance as well, because you got to be careful when it comes to that point in your life when like you are getting recognition, and when your movies are coming out and all this stuff, and when it comes, so to speak, when you're starting to get a little bit of that taste of that fame, you kind of have to just stop yourself immediately in order to realize where you're at right now.
It takes a lot. I grew up from a very small town. I don't have anybody in my family that's connected to the film industry, so for me to even accomplish what I have right now is even surreal for myself. So I can only imagine, you know, in another couple of years, just what life will have for me. And it's definitely something that anybody who's stepping into the industry should definitely think long and hard about, because that is a commitment that you really can't take back once you get there.
What do you think is the most challenging thing to overcome as an actor, and what do you think the challenge that is definitely the most difficult to actually be a challenge of?
I think for me, the biggest challenge is just every time when I go on a new set, of course, I'm nervous. I have a bit of anxiety. I'm excited. I honestly think the hardest part is just like getting there and doing it. And then after a few times, you feel more and more comfortable. But every time, even like the first day on set, I'm always still super nervous. I'm anxious. I'm excited. I have all this adrenaline. So I feel like that would be like the hardest part for me. Everybody has their doubts. Like, okay, I hope everybody likes how I prepared for the character. They like how I deliver my lines, and a million and one thoughts going through your mind, even just like going to your set on the first day.
How would you fix a mistake, let's say misplaced emotion in the character, and then they have to restart that scene, and then that means you got to restart your character from that moment? How do you react to that kind of moment?
Actually, I have had that happened to me, most recent feature, Clown Fear, it was going by the title Circus Road, but they had changed it to Clown Fear now. There was one specific scene where I was shooting, and I interpreted my character being very emotional. So the first couple takes I was crying, I was bawling my eyes out, and then after a couple takes, the director, Min, came up to me and was like, okay, I love what you're doing, awesome, but I want you to do it this way. And so I had to completely change my mindset, I had to change my character and direct my energy in a different way from how I had even prepared it.
It's not just frustrating for the director, or probably frustrating, I'm assuming, or restarting the scene, but now you have to just completely start from scratch from exactly where you were. You knew where you were then, but now you have to start over and try to make it better than the last one or the last take before that.
Yep, I think that's where you got to be yourself, and you take all the time that you've invested in becoming your character and researching your character and building your character. That's where it really shows how much back work you've really done to create your character. If you're able to, on the spot, you're able to change it and make it work, and then at the end the director is like, awesome, that was great.
And having to direct your own emotion for your character is just as difficult, because emotion is such a key factor in this. In some cases, a lot of actors don't really focus on just the emotion in the scene because they just act the part out, and yeah, it comes natural to a lot of these guys and they pull it off very well, but at the same time you kind of have to worry about the kind of emotion, but it's almost like a balance to where you kind of have to worry about, but then at the same time you can't worry about it, otherwise you're kind of probably botch up that moment in that scene.
Exactly, and you can't be set on exactly how you rehearse whatever you have going on for the day. Like, I like to try to think of my lines from a couple different viewpoints, and of course I have the one that I stick to, but at least if I'm there on set and they throw something to me on the spot, or we have to do an improv or anything like that, I'm always ready, because I know my character so well that irregardless of what happens, even if they add a scene or completely change a scene, I'll be able to react in character and make it still good.
Do you think sometimes communication and isolation might actually help you work better to get those moments in and get those scenes in to make the character really come alive right there on the spot to the audience?
Definitely. I think it takes a lot of, especially for me in my experience, it takes a lot of time in the beginning. I like to be alone. I like to study my character and kind of create this whole world. And then I like to collaborate with the director and see his vision and match it up with my vision, and then we can collaborate from there. It's definitely a big collaboration when it comes to making movies.
Especially when you come right there on the set, because you yourself, as well as everybody, other actors that's on there, you guys are basically emotional rods, meaning like when you get next to another actor, you're going to feel whatever that actor is going to be going through, whatever it is that they're rehearsing or whatever, and then in a way it can interfere with whatever it is you're doing, and and once you hit that moment when it's time to, when they say action, then it could go off the rail right off the bat.
Yeah, you have to be so emotionally available and flexible and be able to really be in touch with core human emotions to be able to pull that out of you. And it definitely helps when you have a co-actor on set who's so into their character as well that you guys just feed off of each other, and it just makes the energy so intense. You can see it on screen.
Yeah, and sometimes, self-observing yourself or probably absorbing is probably the better way to do that, because if you're almost in tune with just yourself and not really worried about what that other person is performing their character as, in terms, again, it goes right back to, should you worry about that other actor and their character while you're worried about your character?
One of my favorite, I don't know if I'd call it a quote, but something I always keep in mind when it comes to acting is that you're not acting, you're reacting. That's what makes a good actor, is you're reacting to what's in front of you and what's going on. You're not just in your own world doing whatever and you're just stuck absorbed in yourself like you just said.
Yeah, otherwise it's not going to be sellable to the audience at all, because now you're making it look like you're trying to do that, and in a way it's kind of bad. No matter how lovely it sounds, you simply just can't do it. But yes, the reacting, definitely you have to react. You have to react in terms of if someone's getting angry at you got to react to that. When it comes to that, you got to react if someone's slamming a door, or if you happen to just suddenly, if your character suddenly just feels sad or any kind of really powerful emotion, you got to hit that right there off the spot. You cannot just stop and think about it for a second.
No, because that just looks bad.
You're selling yourself to the audience, and yes, you're marketing yourself as a product from a company, and you have to get that out there right, otherwise you're going to miss a lot of opportunities for yourself. In terms of with this film, how do you feel this will help your career of Morbid Stories?
I feel Morbid Stories is going to help my career. It's another character that I get to add to my collection of diverse characters. Only done one other horror film before, and this would be my second, so it's nice to also add on to that because I am a big fan of the horror genre. I love all the scary movies and all the gore and all that stuff. So for me, it's really exciting.
Oh, very cool. Go ahead and plug in any websites regarding to this project or anything that we can check out right now.
Morbid Stories, we don't have too much right now because it is still in production. But for Clown Fear, I believe there's a trailer on YouTube. There's a Facebook page, an Instagram page. I've posted a lot of photos from behind the scenes and stuff on my Instagram. So there's quite a bit out there on social media.
Very nice. And there you have it, everybody. That is actress Courtney Akbar.
Thank you so much, Mike, for having me.